Welcome to this episode of Your Wellness MD podcast. Family physician and wellness expert, Dr. Daniela Steyn, has meaningful conversations that will take your health to the next level. She explores the connection between a healthy body, mind, and soul, and shares tips that will enable you to thrive. Dr. Steyn has helped thousands of people have a better quality of life by improving their health with science-based knowledge, education, better nutrition, mindfulness, and lifestyle choices. Join us today, empowering you to live your best life with optimal health.
Good day. I'm Dr. Daniela Steyn. Welcome to today's episode of Your Wellness MD's podcast. Today we are chatting with Cecilia Lanier. Cecilia has an impressive resume. She's a board-certified professional teacher. She has been a teacher for 25 years. She is also an instructional coach for teachers. Cecilia has completed her training as a functional medicine certified health and wellness coach with Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. She is a national board-certified health and wellness coach. She is also a course facilitator at the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. I've worked with many health coaches, and this is by far the most impressive resume I have come across. So I thought it would be a great person to tell our podcast listeners today more about health coaching. Welcome, Cecilia.
Thank you, Dr. Steyn. That was a very gracious introduction.
Cecilia, I must admit, health coaching is a new field to me. And, I only learned about health coaching after I started my wellness clinic and did more training in functional medicine and in wellness medicine. So I know there's many of our listeners that's not as familiar with health coaches. Will you tell our listeners, what does a coach do?
Yes, you're right, Dr. Steyn. It's kind of a new field, especially the coaching that I do is health and wellness coaching. There's lots of kinds of executive coaches, leadership coaches, but this specific is rather new. So first, I should tell you what a coach does not do.
Okay.
We're not physicians or practitioners in any way. We don't treat disease or prescribe medicine. We're not therapists or counselors, and we don't give protocols or prescriptions.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So what do you do?
That's a good question. We are specialists in behavior change. So I like to say that we help people change when change is hard, and change is always hard when it comes to lifestyle behaviors. So we all know the truth that just because someone has a prescription or a treatment plan, this does not always translate to actually making a change.
Oh, for sure. I've been surprised when I've heard the stats about when patients do give, or when physicians do give a prescription to patients, how often patients don't really fill that prescription. Or when I tell my patients to make lifestyle changes, I found that has been so hard. I would tell a patient, oh, you have high blood pressure, make lifestyle changes. If you don't, you'll need to go onto medication 6 months later. And I've been surprised at how hard it is to make those changes.
Right. It is very hard to make the changes. And as a physician, I can imagine there's this gap between what you want patients to do and then their compliance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in the middle is where a coach can help. So I'll tell you a little bit about coaching, if I may.
Yes.
It's a partnership between experts. So we believe that the client is an expert in their own experience, and we're experts in behavior change. So we form a relationship within this atmosphere of compassion, unconditional regard, and empowerment. The sessions are client-led and coach-supported. So we help people develop a vision of what they want their ideal life to be like. We spend time exploring the values, their purpose and meaning in their life, and their own why for seeking any type of change. So we help them take stock of where they are and where they want to get and help them. We co-create, the way we say it, co-create these goals and action plans to help move them toward the change. So coaches assist clients to develop a support system, which is very important in making a change. And we also address beliefs and thinking patterns that may have hindered their progress in the past, negative thinking patterns. And all along, Dr. Steyn, we are emphasizing autonomy and self-regulation while also supporting the need for accountability.
Oh, that's a big thing. This is something that I've noticed when a patient comes to me and say, oh, they want to lose weight or they want to go on an elimination diet, I would then refer this patient to you. And you would assess this patient to see if they're ready for change. And this was so tricky for me to understand in the beginning because I would say, of course, this patient is ready for change. That's why he came to me. That's why this person found me on the internet, looked at my website, booked an appointment, paid money. This person is ready, I thought. But then as you work with this patient, you won't just assume they're ready. You would really journey with this person and wait and gauge whether they are really ready for change before you just implement their plan. And I believe that's really a big part of your success is that you get that person where they are ready on their terms so that they can implement their plan. So it's not me implementing it. It's not you implementing it, but it's enabling them to do it on their own.
Well said. That is exactly right. There's stages of change that we all go through when we embark on a change. And it's the coach's responsibility to find out where a client is in the journey of change. And we support them wherever they are in that journey. We don't push or direct clients, and we don't see them as broken people. I like to say clients are creative, resourceful, and whole, even though they might be temporarily, detoured from life because of their dilemmas. So we discover what stage they're in, and we skillfully guide them along the journey. And as always, being careful to honor their autonomy. Clients are experts in themselves, as I said, and my job is to help them uncover their own motivation and their own inner genius. We want to minimize resistance by empowering them to develop their own reasons and plans for change. Research has shown that when people are told what to do, typically they will resist. So we want to make it their idea, right?
Yes,
so,
and I experience that in family practice. When I tell people, oh, you have to lose weight, you have to stop smoking, you have to cut back on alcohol. It's not as if they just stand up and say, oh, sure, doc, I'll do it. That's not what typically happens.
No, and that's typical of human behavior. As a matter of fact, if you'll notice about yourself, when someone tells you something to do, inside your mind, you're saying, yeah, but you don't understand me. And so we know that and we honor that. And once we find out where they are and support them and get them to voice their own reasons and their need and desires for change, we know how to get that process moving. So we're walking alongside them as an ally and a guide. But what's important is we use a lot of positive psychology too. We emphasize their past successes, for example, to build, self-efficacy. We will focus on their strengths and capabilities, their own values and aspirations. And we elicit and uncover their ideas. I do believe, Dr. Steyn, and I saw this with teachers when I was an instructional coach, people really have the best ideas. And it's not always a lack of knowledge. They may have a prescription and say, yes, I know how I should eat or live or take this medication. And that doesn't mean more knowledge doesn't necessarily translate to a life change. So there's more to it than that. So we help them with this plan, as I was saying, and the accountability is super important. And, we want them to be self-regulated, to have a sustainable lifestyle change, not just a quick fix. So it's got to be something that's built with their motivation, their own successes slowly over time, where they are developing lifestyle habits, not just a short, quick fix.
Yes, for sure. Who needs a coach?
Well, in my opinion, we all need a coach, and I wish that I had a coach in my health journey. But people ask me this, and I say, anyone who wants to make a change needs a coach. I think if we were very good friends to each other, if we knew how to be a good friend to each other, perhaps we wouldn't need a coach. But a lot of times when we talk with friends, they're talking about themselves and they're not necessarily invested in hearing our story, and focusing on us all together. So a coach is someone who is going to help you make that change that you desire. There's different kinds of people that come. Some people, as I said, on the spectrum of change, they're ready to change. They want to change. They've seen, a little bit of success and they're ready to go. Some people are a little bit resistant. They are seeking a coach because they've tried to make a change and they're just stuck and haven't been able to make a change, or because someone like Dr. Steyn or someone else gives them a prescription and says, here, do this, and it would be so helpful if you had a coach. And sometimes people come and they know they need to change, but they're so discouraged by life's failures, or they feel like they're a failure. They're not really, but they haven't been able to succeed, and so they're discouraged. And I see a lot of those too. And some people feel like they've made a change, but they just want to keep it going. So I see all kinds of people on that spectrum.
Yes, and support. That's a big thing that you said, that you might have a friend and the friend wants to talk about himself, or your friend might want to say, I want to lose weight, and your friend is like, oh, no, you're good. You don't need to lose weight. Right. I want to quit smoking. And the friend is like, just a couple of joints would be okay. Yeah. So it is, if you need that support, if you don't have that person who's really cheering for you in your own circle, then you can find a coach to support you and to cheer you on.
Yeah, exactly. It's championing. We like to say we're championing a person, not cheerleading them. But there's also some other thing I forgot to mention. I want to mention, because when people hear me talk about the coach, they're like, well, it doesn't seem that it's going to be helpful if you're just standing on the sidelines going, wait, good job. There are times when clients need information and even advice. Mm-hmm. And we are equipped with many, many tools to help clients work through these lifestyle behavior changes. But we do it in a certain way. We ask permission. It's always within the parameters of what is best for the client at the moment.
Mm. So, and then when you said in the beginning, you said that you don't you don't create a protocol, you don't create a prescription. Mm-hmm. That being said, you did your training through the Institute of Functional Medicine, where I did my training as well. So there is a big knowledge part as well. When I send a patient to you specifically on a elimination diet or mitochondrial diet, then you do have a lot of knowledge on how to help people troubleshoot through this diet when they encounter problems. Even both of us had to, through our training, do the elimination diet ourselves, so that when we do advise a patient on a certain diet and they say, oh, but I'm having a headache, I'm experiencing these detox symptoms, you're also equipped to guide someone through that because you've gone through that yourself. Mm-hmm. So you have the head knowledge, you have the physical knowledge, the experience knowledge, and then you have the coaching skills as well. Mm-hmm. So that puts you in a great position to do that. I remember there's the story that you tell about your husband. So your husband is a chiropractor, and I would recommend to anyone that drives through or live in Madison in Alabama to definitely drive by Dr. Cecilia Lanier's place. He is an incredible chiropractor. You will not regret stopping by his practice. His practice is called Bailey Chiropractic Clinic. Dr. Lanier is also a certified functional medicine practitioner, and his practice is called Be Well for Life. I'll add his contact information to my podcast, as a description, in our description for the listeners. But tell me the story you told me, what your husband says.
Yes, this is pretty typical of why people need a coach. And he is also sending me some clients as well. So he says that he likes to tell the story about giving a patient a handout on exercises. Let's say you have a bad knee or a shoulder, and he says, okay, do these exercises. And then a few weeks passes and the patient comes in and he says, "Doctor, these exercises didn't really work." And my husband says, "Well, did you actually do the exercises?" And they say, "No, I didn't do them." And my husband says, "Well, I find that they really don't work unless you actually use them." So point well made, right?
Exactly. And I wish all of us as coaches to work with us through every physio, because I've also been to chiropractor and physiotherapist, and I have all the exercises on my bedside table. But exactly, if we can just find a coach to work with us through that.
Yeah.
And that comes to the next thing is, why do people need coaches? There's so many reasons, but if you can maybe summarize the most important reasons why people need coaches.
Yes. I thought I knew why people needed coaching. And I think sometimes people think they know why they need coaching. But when they come to me, Dr. Steyn, it opens up a wide range of things. But I'm going to tell you the 5 most common areas where people need coaching in health and wellness coaching. This is different than, it overlaps with life coaching. But anyway, food and nutrition is one area.
That's big. That's very big, yeah.
Yes, movement, and we call it exercise. I like to say movement because exercise can be a negative word for some people. Sleep and rest, stress management, huge, and positive relationships. So we also address the emotional and mental, physical, and spiritual realities of a person because, as you know, it's hard to separate a person into parts, right?
It's impossible.
Yes. So that's why I'm saying if they come and say, "I have a problem with my weight. I need to go on this diet, but I never sleep. And I have a bad relationship at work," you see quickly how encompassing some of these areas can be into a person's life. So when a person begins in one area, other areas come into focus and they seek balance in their life. So that's what we're looking for is overall balance and wellness, not just one area. May I give you an example?
Yes, please do, yeah.
I had a client who was referred by her FM doc, and he ordered her to come and start the elimination diet. As you mentioned, that is a very difficult diet to do by yourself. You need support with that. There's a lot of knowledge about it and preparation. But she has a lot of health issues. A high A1C, blood glucose levels were very high. And he said, "I need you to go see Coach Lanier." So she comes and she just was so stressed out, overwhelmed about doing this elimination diet that she just literally hyperventilated in our Zoom call. She just didn't want to do it. And I felt so badly for her, although I knew she was there for a change. So I gave her the choice to focus on any other area. And she felt like she was ready for a change and just put the diet aside until she's ready. And she chose to get help with some relationships in her family. So we did that and she had great success. It only took 2 or 3 weeks. She learned some thinking patterns and really changed some relationships that are key in her family. Then she felt empowered with that success, to tackle this diet. So we worked through the details of the diet. I did have to work with her because it can get tricky, as you said. She was so successful, so empowered. She lost extra pounds. She lowered her A1C levels to not even pre-diabetic levels. They were perfect in the normal range.
Sure, that's incredible.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes. She got off several meds. Her hormones were balanced. She got her energy back, and she started living the life that she had lost due to poor health.
Yeah, that's profound, eh?
Yeah.
That's incredible because our goal is not just to get people off their medication, which we do, which is awesome, but our goal is to get them back at that best version of themselves that is in there somewhere, but it's sometimes just lost, so far that people don't even recognize that anymore.
Right. They're best. You're right about that. Many people have to stay on their medication, but they're doing the best that they can, to have the best body and the best organism for living and working and thriving. So we say we take them from the neutral point where treatment brings them to the neutral point, minus the disease symptoms and signs often. And we start from the neutral point and go toward their ultimate ideal vision for their healthy life.
Yeah, this is incredible. And then, so this client that you're talking about, then what is it? So she was happy. She balanced her A1C levels. She got off her medication and she weighed less.
Oh, yes. She was thrilled. Now, the rest of the story is, I wanted to share with you, that was about 10 months ago.
Okay.
And she is still thriving and doing wonderfully. And one good thing that happened, this is sort of to illustrate the fact that, change in one area of life spreads into other areas of our life. So, let's see. I know she had enough energy to start cooking with her husband, and her husband started planning meals together, cooking meals together, and spending time in the kitchen. And she's having a grand time. And this is because now she has the energy to do that. So it even helped her marriage relationship.
Yeah, sure. That is incredible. And I personally have referred clients to you, so I know how incredible you are as a coach. That's why I wanted to share some of you with all our podcast listeners. I want to scale you so that everyone can gain a little bit from you. Tell us a little bit more about this whole process. If someone does decide to sign up with you as a coach, they can go onto the functionalmedicine.org, ifm.org website and look for a health coach. Mm-hmm. So if they then find a health coach, how does the process work? What happens next?
Well, everybody's got probably a little bit different, process, but this is generally what I do.
Okay.
I will first have a consult with the client, just a phone consult to see what they expect of coaching and what kind of areas they're looking at, why they're seeking a coach. And so that phone consult is about 20 minutes to just get a good feel for each other. If this is a relationship that they want to enter into, and I kind of have to explain what a coach does because not many people do. So if they agree to enter into a contract agreement with me or enter into this engagement, then I like for clients to sign up for 3 months at least. And the reason for that, Dr. Steyn, is because it really does take about 12 weeks to see considerable change, long enough for us to get into the maintenance phase, where we're really looking at obstacles and trying to overcome anything that might get in the way to keep up our change. But clients have an option to meet with me. I do Zoom. All of my sessions have been Zoom with people all over several countries, not just this one. So we meet as an option to them either once a week for 30 minutes or every other week for 50 minutes, depending on their schedule and what they like to do. So that takes about 12 weeks. I want to say also that I like to get a good profile of the client. I like to find out what their strengths are. We focus on their strengths and not what is wrong with people. We focus on what is right with them. So we have them take some character strength surveys, and they answer questions about what they like and don't like, their dreams for the future, things like that.
Oh, that's just incredible. And then when you work through these sessions, I know that you're really expecting your client to be an active participant, right? They can't just sit and let you do the work. They're as involved as you are in these sessions.
Yes, I tell them, just because I think it's a mindset change for them. They're used, we are, not just clients, but we're used to having people tell us what to do. Just tell me what to do, some people say. And I think, yes, even if I told you, I don't know that it would work. So we don't actually tell them right up front. But I like to say before we even meet that they are expected to be an active participant in this engagement. It is a partnership. And we're on equal standing. We're peers. I help them and support them and have information if they need, but they come with an agreement that they're really going to be active that they're going to help plan the goals and actually do them. And I remind them, I think everybody has heard this, that if you do the same things you've always done, you're going to get the same results that you've always had.
Yeah, and that's profound, hey? It is, yeah, that is such a big thing because we often think, oh, but I don't do things this way, I don't do things that way. But to have that growth mindset and think, okay, if I want different results, maybe I should try something different.
Yeah.
And this is a safe place to learn it from you, from a coach who has experience and who can help guide and say, no, but don't try it that way.
Yeah. Sometimes, we all do this. We plan so much for ourselves that we set ourselves up for failure. So, we watch out for that. But it's a good point, Dr. Steyn, that it is a confidential place. It's a safe place. It's a judgment-free place where clients can come and really work through these things in a very safe environment. And, if we're safe, we feel more open. And as we become more open, we become more aware of our own thoughts sometimes and our own dilemmas and our own solutions. And I also want to say too that, I have clients and they'll come to me and say, oh, I messed up last week. I failed. And I say, no, that was just feedback. That was just an experiment and information. We don't want them to see setbacks as failure, but this is just an opportunity for learning. It's a learning experience.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's a big one. And then something that what I like is you give your clients a summary after the session along with homework, but then that helps the client to, have access to their own records, to be able to look back and see, what they learned from you, to have that paper trail, they have access to messaging to you. This is obvious. So, and obviously just one session isn't good enough, but most of us also don't have the luxury of working with a client lifelong. You say that the ultimate timing for you is about, 12 weeks to learn a new habit and to implement that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a minimum 12 weeks. But, they have a choice of 3 to 6 weeks. So 3 months to 6 months. So I really am interested, Dr. Steyn, in helping and being effective to help people change. And that's what it takes.
And that is why you became a health coach, because you're so passionate about helping people change. Tell us a bit more about your journey. Why did you become a health coach?
Well, I found this out because as a course facilitator at Functional Medicine Coaching Academy, we have a new group of coaches have just signed up, and I hear their stories about how they got into this. Many, many people who are coaches have sort of the same story. And my story is that I had my own health challenges for 30 years of my adult life. And I will tell you a little bit about that if I could.
Yes, please do.
So I retired from being an instructional coach for teachers because of my health, and I used functional medicine to heal. And once I was better, my passion for helping other people led me to join FMCA. And that was a year-long robust training to really get into the journey of functional medicine principles, as well as a real rigorous coach training experience. So I'm still constantly learning and reading and studying to become the most effective coach I can be. I am deeply passionate about helping people through coaching.
Wow, that's incredible. Good for you, Cecilia. And many of my clients come to me about burnout, and you've experienced burnout in your career, and that puts you in a place to really help clients with burnout so much better because you have been there. You work through it. You recognize that in your life as physical illness. You worked through it. You recovered, and you didn't only recover. You're really thriving now. Will you share about working through burnout with our listeners?
Sure. I think burnout is the way that you said burnout, and I think the way I define that is I just didn't pay attention to my body, to what my body was telling me. I just pushed and pushed. I was 32 years old and I had a health challenge, and it slowed me down for a little bit. I got, patched up, and I just kept working very, very hard in a very stressful job. Teaching is a stressful job. It's a wonderful job, but it's stressful. I was also a wife and a mother of 2 kids. A husband was in chiropractic school, as a matter of fact. And I just ignored it. Things got worse. My health just continued to deteriorate. One thing after another began to break down. I knew before long I had one autoimmune disease diagnosis, a very long list of symptoms. I was so fatigued that all I could do was just go to work and come home and go to sleep. And that lasted a very long time. I didn't realize that I could do something about it. I just kept going and going, like I just must try harder or something. I worked in, I was told during the meanwhile to, pay attention to your adrenal fatigue. So I read books and I kept thinking, well, someone just give me a pill for adrenal fatigue. But I just never put two and two together that really has to do with my life and the way I handle stress. I just kept pushing. I never stopped. I periodically had to take a year or two off of work just to recover. And I would just get a little bit better and jump right back in there and work and work and work. So when people told me about making lifestyle changes, I just didn't know what that meant. I wasn't a wild person that did a lot of partying. I just worked hard. That didn't seem like a bad thing. But looking back, that was what was really tearing my health down. So I just didn't know what stress was doing to my body. I sought out lots of specialists. I had at that point gotten many diagnoses, several autoimmune diseases, which is stacking up. And finally, in 2013, I just really literally could not even get up and get dressed to go to work another day. So I became disabled, unfortunately. And then another autoimmune disease diagnosis came on top of that. I probably had 4 official diagnoses, but I kept trying and seeing specialists and taking medication here and there. But really, that just kind of made me worse. So out of desperation, after I was disabled, I decided to learn all I could about functional medicine and went on this learning journey. About the same time, my husband began his functional medicine program. At my encouragement, please help me. You can be the FM practitioner. I'll be a coach and we'll help other people.
Oh, that's so incredible. And such a legacy that the two of you are leaving behind. Good for you.
And that's kind of what we did. So I started applying all the things I learned and made drastic lifestyle changes. I changed my diet completely. I started meditating, doing yoga, walking, and practicing gratitude and paying attention to a positive mindset. I didn't realize how negative I had been my whole life. So those things is how I dealt with chronic stress. Now the job was over and the stress wasn't there, but I'll tell you, Dr. Steyn, it's a cycle of thinking and behaving that we adopt, that no matter what we're doing, we could stress ourselves out.
Yeah, it's fascinating, huh? How we do that to ourselves and how our whole battlefield is right here in our own mind.
Yes, it is. And I see that in a lot of clients too. And of course, that is one area of focus that we work on that I have a lot of experience in. So the story ends that within a year of doing these lifestyle changes, I was able to function. And within 2 years, I was so well that I wanted to really get back to helping other people and coaching. I didn't want to really go back into education. I had done it 25 years, so I decided to go into coaching. And that's when I started FMCA, and my husband was doing his functional medicine program at the same time. So, I'm busy now with coaching, with being an FMCA facilitator and some other projects. I tend to myself and my self-care first.
Yeah, that's what they say, that you can't pour from an empty cup. So you make sure that you fill your cup. And then once your cup is full, you're able to give, to so many people around you. Oh, that's incredible. And now you're strong and healthy and you have all this energy to give to your children, to your grandchildren. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 7 grandchildren.
Such a blessing. How old are they?
The oldest is 23 and the youngest just turned 9.
Oh, such incredible. And so healing yourself wasn't just for yourself, right? It was also your husband benefits, your children benefit, your grandchildren benefit, and all your patients benefit. So it's really doing a service to the world to make yourself healthier.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, for sharing with our listeners today. And I know our listeners learned new things today that will help them to thrive, that will help our listeners in their wellness journey forwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Steyn, for having me. I enjoyed talking with you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode today by medical doctor Daniela Steyn. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter at www.wellnessmdhealth.com to stay up to date on educational resources that will take your quality of life to the next level. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your healthcare provider. Never disregard medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Remember, you are created to thrive.